Welcome to what is now, I believe, the third episode in our little ancient wisdom series. Today, we're going to be focusing on the chakra system, mainly the seven chakra system. So, if you know anything about that, um, there's the seven chakra system, there's 14, there's 114, right? So different parts of the world, different practitioners, and different energy healing modalities focus on different systems. So for today, we're just talking about the seven chakra system. And I have been certified for almost a year now in chakra healing. So it's been a good time. I mainly love, you know, introducing people to this form of energy healing who are completely new to it and who maybe don't understand it or don't understand exactly who it's for or why it could be for them and all that. So that's been one of my greatest joys in doing this so far. And of course, just promoting healing and giving people tools and maybe some insights to help them in their healing journey is, it's been really rewarding. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the history of the chakras. So, the chakra system I'm referring to, um, it is old, and a lot of Western medicine or understandings sort of come from these ancient systems that began in India. So, for example, the chakras, Ayurveda, Western medicine kind of models it slightly, but has a very different angle and approach and all that. But we can thank those ancient systems and sciences for the knowledges that we have today. So, the seven chakras are really seven different energy points along the spine that encompass our physical, mental, emotional, energetic health, all of it together. And so this is a very holistic system and practice. The word chakra itself means wheel, and the energy centers along the spine, when they are healthy and when they are in flow, they're open and they're spinning like a wheel, right? They're extracting energy and emotions that we don't need anymore and creating space to bring in fresh, vibrant energy. So if you hear the idea or the practice of balancing your chakras and you're like, well, what does that mean? It basically means unblocking any that may be blocked, any that may be underactive or overactive, just so that we can have them all spinning in the proper way to filter our system to keep us, at our peak and optimum health. So we're going to start with the very first chakra. It's called the root. It is located at the very base of the spine. The root is very much what it sounds like. Think of um, a new baby, right? A new baby is really just needs the basic survival needs met. So, food, shelter, security, safety. Um, for non babies, we need financial stability and all of that. And so, the root chakra is very much how grounded we feel in our environment, in where we're at in life right now. Do we feel supported? Do we feel safe? Are we secure? There's a lot of financial kind of talk in the root chakra space, because we live in a world where our basic needs cannot be met without money. And so, people who struggle financially definitely could have some root chakra issues. Um, Another way it could manifest is overthinking or high anxiety or cynicism, right? Anything that's up here and it's like buzzing around, and you can't really focus, you can't get grounded. um that's how the root chakra can manifest itself if it's in need of nurturing. It's also linked to our physical health too, particularly the adrenals. And so the chakra system is not just emotionally related, it's very much linked to our organs and our physical health. So, if someone's root chakra is in need of nurturing, that's really important, because the way that the chakras work is that they all work together. And if the root is off, it's kind of hard for the rest of them to be in operation properly. Um, and so that's, the idea is getting them all to be functioning just to serve us and our health. Next, we have the sacral. So this is located 2 to 3 inches below the navel, in the womb space, it's sometimes called. So it's right in that area. Now, think of this as, past that infant stage. Now we're out of just our familial relationships, and we start to make friends, and we start to identify outside of the circles of our family. So here is really where we can jump out of strictly survival mode, and we can invite pleasure and creativity, um, desirability, all those things. So this is where we cultivate friendships, relationships, sexuality, right? And sometimes the sacral area, when it needs nurturing, there can be, fertility issues, or not feeling connected to self, any sexuality issues, or no creativity, no flow, right? No, no really access to pleasure. There's just a block, or it's cut off. When it's overactive, of course, we can be, searching for all of these things outside of ourselves, and it can sometimes be done in an unhealthy manner. So here, the organs that it can affect are, let's see, we've got, uterus, bladder, all the sexual organs, things like that. So if someone is, maybe having um, bladder issues or something like that, there could be a block in this energy center. Um, Also, if someone has any, stored sexual traumas, or um, relationship issues, or friendship issues, or, don't really take time in their day to do anything that's just for fun and for pleasure, but just constantly, productivity and no outlets, that can cause some blockages too. So we really want to keep ourselves doing things for fun, being creative. And, when people hear the word creative, they think, oh, well, I'm not like a painter. I can't just sit in front of a canvas and paint. That's not really my thing. And, that's fine if that's not. If you want to give it a try, go for it. But there's other ways to be creative. There's gardening, there's trying a new recipe, off the top of your head without following one from a cookbook. There's rearranging your home, like interior design. There's plenty of ways to be creative. It's just about tapping into that childlike essence, having fun, cultivating healthy relationships. And so that is the sacral. We next move up to the solar plexus, which is right up here in the abdomen, below the chest. This is really where we start to identify. We have a sense of self. So this is where the ego is, and ego is not always a bad thing. It helps us navigate the outside world. Um, a healthy ego keeps us safe and keeps us, I don't want to say uniform, but helps us to understand, you know, we don't we wouldn't go to the mall and like sit down on the floor in the middle of a store and like unpack a picnic, right? Because that's not how the kind of order of things go. So in the solar plexus, this is our self esteem and our self confidence and feeling like, we're taking space in this world and we enjoy the space we're taking. We feel aligned with it. We feel like we're living on purpose. And, so self-esteem and self-confidence issues that can land us with, anything that needs nurturing that can manifest beyond having low self-esteem or low self-confidence, digestive issues. So, sometimes I'll be working on a client and the solar plexus will, really need some work. And afterwards, I'm like, so, have you had any stomach issues or do you experience any digestive issues? And a lot of times they're like, oh, yes, yes, I struggle with, this, and this. And then, I can recommend like certain practices and foods to help with um, opening up and keeping that energy center in flow. One thing I will mention, and I'll talk about it a little at the end too, our environment, the foods we eat, um, our life experiences, our day to day lives, where we live, who we interact with, all of these things combined can impact our chakra system. And so when I do see clients, we talk about the areas where maybe they need to make some adjustments. So whether it's your living situation, or whether it's you're really unhappy with your job, or it's the foods you're eating, right? So when we kind of pinpoint maybe where some of these issues are coming from, um, it's easier to give recommendations and suggestions. Now, there is food recommendations and daily practice recommendations for each chakra. So that's really fascinating that, someone who's having sacral issues, there are certain foods that can help with opening up that area or really nourishing and nurturing it. And so I just wanted to put that out there. You don't have to leave your chakra healing in the hands of the healer. At least that's how I design my practice, is that I want to help you, give you the tools so when you go home, you can kind of look around and see what adjustments or changes can be made to help you. So then we move on to the heart center. And the heart center is very much what it sounds like. This is our ability to see ourselves in all things and to be compassionate and feel joy, um, to extend our love unconditionally. When it's in need of nurturing, we might have issues with resentment or jealousy or holding on to anger. That very much does not align with joy and compassion and being loving and all of that. So in that space, can be impacted by relationships, someone got hurt, any stored resentments, towards friends or family or even yourself, any issues with forgiveness, that's all in the heart center. And so opening up that area, it softens our body. It opens up us up to receive abundance in whichever way, that makes sense for you, whether it's money or love or, joy, right? This is where when we need to feel joy, our heart center should be in its prime and should be operating, you know, openly, and instead of being so cold and blocked, when it's open, where we just see the world in a much brighter and softer way. Now, if it's overly active, same with the solar plexus, we might have issues with setting boundaries or honoring boundaries in for ourselves and for others. And so if that's something that you struggle with, it could be that that energy center needs some love. The next one is the throat chakra. Now, this one is really amazing. So, the throat chakra is all about expressing our truth, living in our truth, feeling safe in our authenticity. But it's also about feeling heard and listening not only to our bodies and our feelings, but to others. And, we want to be expressive, but we also want to be able to listen when it comes time to listen. So the throat area controls a lot of our hormones because of the thyroid. And that's one of the physical ways that it can manifest is any dysregulation with the thyroid. If you were silenced a lot as a child, or you didn't feel safe in speaking up, or you oppress your feelings, keep things in, that could be signs that maybe you need some help in opening up that chakra center. If you are, again, overly expressive in an unhealthy ways, lashing out, that's not good either, right? So there's the underactive, the blocked, and the overactive. So anything that's not in perfect balance, it's worth looking into. So a lot of times this comes issues from here comes from childhood. Um, or, it can be a lingering effect from self-esteem or self-confidence issues where we don't feel secure enough to speak up and advocate for ourselves or for others, and we feel very hushed and silenced, and so those oppressed feelings, they can just get trapped, and it's, it can cause, a host of other issues in the body, mentally, emotionally, all that. So that's always a tough one to work on because it's a process, and it doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and be able to speak your mind as easily and as freely as other people do. You have to be committed to these practices. So the next one is the third eye. This one is probably pretty common. It's right here above the brow line in the center of the forehead. This is being able to see beyond what we see physically. Like, it is very much our intuition. It is very much being able to read the and see the unseen. And people who have problems with second guessing themselves, they don't trust their intuition, or they're very stuck in the intellectual mind and very stubborn, and don't really allow themselves to go beyond what the mind can see or the mind knows. You could have a blockage there, and we really want this center open because we are our greatest resource. We can be our GPS system. We have this ability to keep us safe, but as time has gone on, we need it less and less. We're no longer navigating the jungles or the forests or, an open Sahara, because we live in like these pretty safe communities and houses disconnected from nature and the wilderness. And so we have a sense of safety, from not getting eaten by like a tiger. But at the same time, being so cut off from having to tap into this resource of ours has hurt us in other ways. And regardless of being in the modern world or not, our intuition is and always will be the greatest thing that we can honor in ourselves. And then the seventh is the crown chakra. So it's right on the crown of the head. This is our connection to source. This is being able to see beyond ourselves. People who are very judgmental and closed-minded, maybe they need some nurturing in that area. This is bigger than yourself. A lot of times people will say this is where your purpose lies, right? Where we can tap into this higher consciousness, access our purpose, access, information or healing directly from source energy or God or spirit, whatever you call it. And so if this is closed off, we can our world can be very small. We can see only ourselves, only our environment, something that goes wrong on the day to day might be like the end of the world, because we just cut ourselves off from seeing beyond ourselves. So that is the crown, and that's the seventh one. Like I said, you want them all to be in flow because they all have their own unique purposes, but they also work very much to work together. So if you are interested in a chakra balance, it's so interesting. The first time I went, I didn't know what to expect, and I wanted to keep it that way. I didn't want to tarnish or spoil, any expectations or anything like that. So, I went in there, and it was very much on point with everything that was going on at that time. And some people will be scared, like, oh, I don't want you to know this or this or this about me. So some healers definitely are healers because they have this intuitive nature, and you can go to them and you can ask them about certain things, or they can read certain energies, but not all of it is that way. I may pinpoint, certain things that are going on based on the balancing and doing the energy work, but it's nothing to be afraid of. You're not going to be called out on anything. You're not going to be embarrassed. It's also, chakra balancing is not just for people who consider themselves to be in the spiritual community. This has been around since like it's like between 1500 to 500 BC is when it was first written. So it was around for way longer than that. And a lot of parts of the world use the system, especially in the ancient times, as our health system. And so the idea isn't just to limit it to the spiritual folk. It's literally for everyone. Someone once described it as a massage for your energy body. So, it's meant to be very relaxing and clearing. And what it does more so than that, it gives you the tools. And if we go on a healing journey, and by all means, I am obviously, I I obviously highly recommend seeking out people who can help you or different practices that can help you. But you never want to be in a situation where your healing just comes from the treatment room, whether it's mine or someone else's. Because if that's the case, then you've given your power away, and you'll feel really good for that hour or so in that treatment room, and, even then the next day. But if you don't actually take these tools and implement them for yourself outside of the treatment room, then your healing can get kind of stalled. And so that's why I'm super passionate. I could tell people, you know, yeah, you got this balancing, found some stuff, you're in check now. Come back next week or come back in 1 month. And yeah, I could do that. But I don't want to do that because I know the power of going through alternative healing and making the lifestyle changes. And that combination, it's unmatched. And so if I can give someone the tools to, you know, at least give them either food recommendations or um, daily practices to try out, or even recommend them to other healing modalities, then I feel like my job has much more reach and much more impact. And maybe I'll see clients less throughout the year, but their healing will be so much more deep and intentional and meaningful for them. So, yeah, it's kind of like that teacher in me. If you watched the first episode, I want to teach you how to help yourself, and I'm here to cheer you on and introduce you to some new things maybe. But I want you to take the wheel on it after our sessions. Um, Chakra balancing was the first alternative healing modality that I ever experienced as a patient and our client. And it, from that moment on, from the day I had it done, life was never the same. The awareness you get, the the clarity, the jump start to healing, it's really, really magnificent. And you know, I can't stress enough that it's for anyone and everyone who wants to have a healthy body, a healthy mind, a healthy spirit. These kind of modalities are for you. It worked for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And, today it gets a little bit sensationalized, especially in the Western world. And it becomes like this popular fad or buzzwords and all that. And I get it. That's just what happens. But we really have to remember that this was the way of the world for centuries. And we're so fortunate that, it was recorded, because this is real healing. It's not treating a symptom. It's not putting a bandage over a symptom. This is physical, emotional, spiritual healing. Even if you don't have anything super intense going on in your life and you want to, get yourself in balance a couple times a year, that's great too. Um, you know, Never really worry about if this is for you. If you're even considering it, or you've had your eye on it, then maybe that's your body telling you, we need this level of healing, or this kind of healing. So listen to your body. Don't worry about being judged in the treatment room. Don't worry about, oh, but I don't meditate, or I'm not a spiritual person, I can't do that, or I eat McDonald's, like I can't do that. It's for everyone. Um, and yeah, so that is a brief overview of the seven chakra system. And you could always reach out to me for questions. There's lots of resources online. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you all if you've had any chakra balancing or any other energy work done, or you're interested in it. I would love to hear about it in the comments.